Everyone loves a good comeback story. So, with all the darkness that's being exposed in the whole music industry, especially in these past few months, I feel that it's very important to be able to shift our focus as best we can to artists who are actually promoting a good positive message, so that this way we can actually still find music that we can enjoy without feeling guilty about it, essentially.
He's guilty! You can see it on his smug little face! Guilty! I say guilty!
So in today's video, I decided to focus on some of my current favorite artists, not just because their music is incredible, but because these artists actually have a super powerful positive comeback story behind them that inspires them to make this awesome music. Each of the artists whom I'm going to mention has experienced tremendous pain in their lives, but each of them has seen it as an opportunity to turn that pain into growth and to use every obstacle as an opportunity. So as a result, I think we could learn a lot from these comeback stories and use them to inspire our own journeys. Now, two things I want to get out of the way before diving deeper into this video is that although I haven't met any of these artists aside from Andy Grammer, which I'll be telling the story about during this video, but the three artists who I'm going to be bringing up are going to be Andy Grammer, Mike Posner, and Jelly Roll. But to be clear, if these guys do anything bad in the future, or have done anything bad that I'm not aware of, I don't want to be held accountable for supporting them. I'm just doing my best to highlight their awesome stories and show you guys what we can take away from them. And also, furthermore, as I always say, we can be in the world without being of the world. So even if we still do want to listen to artists who are part of the whole dark part of the music industry, I believe that we still can use their music for enjoyment, as well as to hype us up or to have fun with friends. But the purpose of this video is going to be to offer up other options who put out incredible music, but also have a really great message behind that music. So without further ado, let's dive deeper now.
Give me a...
What's happening, guys? Welcome back to Jared and James channel. I'm Jared Weiss. If you guys didn't know that, must mean you're not subscribed to the channel, so you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, be sure to leave a like, drop a comment, let me know your thoughts on this video. Follow me on every platform, and if you guys haven't done so already, make sure to check out my book, Fight Through It by Jared Weiss. The links to purchase that are on my website, which is jaredryanweiss.com. That's JAREDRYANWEISS.com. Buy the book. Help me, support me, because all that support is very much appreciated, and doing that allows me to keep making positive, awesome content for you guys. So, to start this video off, I'm going to be diving into each of my three favorite artists individually, and I'm going to be going into their stories and telling you why these stories are so powerful and so positive, and you guys are going to see what all of us can learn from them, take away from them, and use them to inspire our own journeys. So first up, we have Mike Posner. Many of us may know him as the Cooler Than Me guy, but how many of us know that he walked across the whole country a few years ago? And he also got bit by a snake while on this journey. He almost died. He was told he may never walk again, but he did that. He conquered that, and then he actually had a whole spiritual awakening while on this journey. Initially, he was deep in the whole music industry. He got addicted to the whole fame, the money and fame. As often happens to a lot of these artists, he was reliant on the listens and the money and the fame in order to make himself happy and in order to provide him with validation for what he was doing. But then in 2017, after his dad died, his good friend Avicii died, his longtime girlfriend broke up with him, a bunch of his songs as an artist were actually getting shelved, and he actually had to sell his music to some more popular artists like Justin Bieber and Maroon 5.
I had all these songs on this unreleasable album,
If I was your boyfriend,
but the songs were releasable if I didn't sing them.
if I was your boyfriend, I'd never let you go.
He decided he was gonna walk across the country in this effort to get off this whole hamster wheel and to experience life to the fullest. And also, after going through an intense bout of depression, he actually realized how his actions were actually contributing to this. So then, what did he do to overcome this? He started practicing positive daily affirmations.
You are joy. You are faith. You are perfect health. You are love. You are guided by the highest good of all. Today you will radiate your sacred self outward for the collective good of all.
Started practicing gratitude every day. He began going out in nature more, getting outside, changing his song lyrics. And now, he tries to be of service to God and his fans, rather than using his fans to provide this empty hole that was in his life. And as he often says, of course he still goes through tough times, and of course he still goes through challenges, but now he understands that his actions are responsible for making his mood what it is. So if he's surrounding himself with good positive people, if he's constantly speaking positive about himself, and if he's eating right, meditating daily, going outside, he's gonna be way more likely to live a positive, happy life. So once again, this is definitely a powerful lesson for all of us. Next up, we have another one of my favorite singers, possibly even my overall favorite, Andy Grammer. Many of us are familiar with the song Don't Give Up On Me, which was actually used in a movie, and also he made one of the most inspiring positive music videos where he actually used patients who'd been going through life-threatening illness situations, and that song ends up becoming an anthem for many of them, as well as myself, and a reminder that no matter how hard what you've been through is, you can overcome anything, and in spite of all the doubters, in spite of what everyone else may say about you, don't give up on me. He also has songs such as Keep Your Head Up, which is an older song. He has Good to Be Alive right about now. He has Honey I'm Good. So all very positive, uplifting music. But how many of us actually know the story behind his music? How many of us actually know about how he got his start? So at 25 years old, his mom passed away, whom he was extremely close with. She was this incredible, positive, amazing light in his life. And as he often says, she contributed to giving him this heart of gold. And he still feels her presence whenever he's making music, and he does so in a way that uses her as a muse for spreading positivity to the world and to making the world a better, more loving place. He began initially as a street performer, performing in front of the smallest of crowds, but he never let that stop him, because he knew that he had this positive message that he wanted to share with the world. And then what ends up happening, his positive message began to catch on, and now he actually has millions of listeners on plenty of his songs.
I started as a street performer, so I was always hunting down, trying to do any gig that I could ever do. And so I got this gig in Iowa that paid $300. And I flew all the way there and then got in a rental car and drove for 3 hours and then got to the place and there was nobody there to see me play. And 10 people came and it worked out. Sometimes you just gotta grab it. Grab them.
And he uses his music to be a vessel for God, to spread his mom's positive messages, and he even called his recent tour, which I actually went to one of the shows on, which I'm going to be talking about in just a sec, he called the tour Greater Than Yourself, because he talks about how whenever he's being in service to God and to others, he always feels better about himself, and that's always what makes him feel his best. And I think many of us could agree on this and could take this message away from what Andy's doing. And now recently, I actually went to one of his shows, which was actually my first concert I had been to in several years. I can't even remember the last concert I had been to. And this was actually a truly spiritual experience. This was not just a performer who's doing everything just for the sake of external validation. This was actually a shared spiritual experience, and everything was so deep, and you could truly feel the love by being there.
Are you feeling it now, Mr. Krabs? Are you feeling it?
So as soon as we get there, each of us had to fill out an index card which contained 3 deep questions. The first one being, name any loved ones who you've lost in your life. Second question being, what's a selfless act we've done in the past year? And the third question being, who's someone that saved your life, whether physically, spiritually, or mentally? And out of all the 1,000+ people who were in the audience, he would pick 10 to 15 cards throughout the entire show, and these people actually got to speak to him in front of everyone on this phone/microphone, and the purpose of this was to answer further questions about our answers. And I actually ended up being one of the lucky ones whose card got chosen to speak to Andy in front of all these people, which is truly amazing. And was I scared, especially with all my speech challenges? Of course. But being someone who posts all these videos, who has all this content out there, all that definitely helps, of course, but it's definitely different actually being in front of a crowd of 1,000+ people. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still incredibly hard speaking to a camera every day and to be posting all these clips every day for everyone to see, but speaking in front of a crowd of 1,000+ people was even more nerve-wracking. But I actually see this as, and I wonder if maybe this could be my final challenge that I had to overcome on my healing journey.
You won! You did it! You did it! I had to test you, Charlie, and you passed the test. You won!
To prove to myself even with all my speech challenges, I could still speak in front of 1,000+ people in an audience, and I could actually speak to my favorite musical artist, and everyone clapped for me, and I did it, I conquered it, and Andy was actually truly so kind, such a genuine, down-to-earth person, and once again, the concert as a whole was a truly deep spiritual experience. Now, the third artist who I want to get to in this video is Jelly Roll. Now, many of us know him as this big-time country music star, but how many of us actually know the story behind the artist? So, Jelly Roll was actually in prison over 40 times during his early years, in his late teens and into his early 20s, and he was essentially a career criminal.
I spent most of from 14 to 25 in jail. It was a heinous crime, admittedly. It was horrible. We robbed a couple of guys for some weed. We went in there with a gun. I regret it every day of my life, Joe.
He was going down this horrible path, and also keep in mind, his mother growing up suffered from addiction as well as mental illness. He spent a lot of time in jail for aggravated robbery as well as numerous drug-related charges for actually distributing drugs. But during his time in prison, he actually used this time as an opportunity to reflect on and to realize like this person who he didn't want to be anymore. He met his wife and like she helped him become a better person. They have 2 kids together, one I think is actually adopted. And nowadays, recently, actually a few years ago, he went in front of Congress to speak about the dangers of fentanyl and is often speaking about how to not go down the dark path of drug addiction. And I also found out this like the other day while I was watching one of his videos. On his recent tour, he actually brought a sauna and an ice bath as a way of keeping his focus on health and to like shift like his whole mindset like to a more positive one. He also often talks about how your past doesn't have to define your future.
Don't give up on yourself. Who I was is not who I am. I am a different person. Because tonight we are turning away from our past and we are focusing on our passion. Tonight we are going to turn our mess into a message.
And he's obviously a shining example of this. He prays often now and tries to help people connect to God better and wants to use like his story to help people become better people, because as far as he sees it, every obstacle is an opportunity, and as I'm always saying, it's never too late to change who you are. So now in this next part of the video, I want to get into my 3 to 4 favorite songs from each of these artists, as well as the meaning and message behind them. So first up we have Mike Posner's song Move On, which came out in 2019, and like the message behind the song has to do with his dad had died, his friend Avicii had died, his girlfriend had broken up with him, and initially, in his early years, he was all about like avoiding his emotions, avoiding his feelings. He didn't want to have to face any of them. He would use like his fame and external validation to cover up his holes in his life. But now, as someone who was trying to heal his life, he realized like he had to face his emotions head on. As the lyrics go, I got high when I met you, I got high to forget you, I feel pain I don't want to, but I have to if I want to move on. So he'd obviously been through a ton of grief, a ton of depression during this time. He lost all these people in his life who he'd been super close to, but what he realized is like you have to feel in order to heal, and more like you actually try to push away your feelings with drugs or alcohol or just by avoidance, you're never going to be able to move on. So like the only way to move on is to feel everything, cry it out, move, surround yourself with positive people, and then ultimately you're going to be able to move on, as hard as it may be sometimes. My next favorite song from Mike Posner is Live Before I Die. So the song starts off by saying like he stopped smoking weed a year ago, maybe he's less cool but he doesn't know, and he also stopped drinking Hennessy at night. He initially thought like it made his fans think he was tight. He's been running from his past, but like his future's just too fast. It doesn't stop for anyone. So dear Lord, won't you please give me wisdom, grant me peace, because I just want to live before I die. So like the song I believe was actually written either while he was taking his walk in his journey across the country or possibly after that. But like how many people out there are actually truly living their lives? How many people are just on autopilot going through their daily motions and never actually living life to the fullest? But like, how could you ever find your true purpose if you're just like following this whole mediocre existence, being alive, but like not actually living? So this is why at some point to always challenge yourselves, whether it be in Mike's case, walking across the whole country, whether it be physical challenges, whether it be going after our dreams, even when the odds might be low of us actually achieving them. Because doing this is actually going to light us up, and like that's actually going to be living.
Carl, live your life. You won't regret it.
And now the third Mike Posner song I want to get into is Beautiful Day. This is actually one of his new songs, and like the whole song is about gratitude. It's about making today a beautiful day to be alive. It's about positive affirmations. It's about reminding yourself how special you are, reminding yourself like you are love and you are light. And he says, how was I so selfish? The money couldn't help it. Keep checking all my messages. I'm sorry to my exes. I'm done being a pessimist, but it's time for a change. The old way wasn't working, so I gotta put that work in. I know I'm far from perfect, but like it's time for a change. It's a beautiful day to be alive. So like listening to a song like this is obviously gonna uplift us, like it's gonna be reinforcing positive affirmations, and all that positive self-talk is actually gonna seep into our subconscious and like make us happier, more positive people. Next up we have my favorite Andy Grammer songs, which first off I'm gonna start with Give Love, which is about how his mom was like a sunshine soldier. Every day was a dream come true. She said that we were blessed by the breath deep inside us. She could make the colors in the sky turn blue, and like his mom blessed him like with this heart of gold. And like she wanted him like to spread this message to everyone else. So what does it cost like to give love to someone else? Nothing. And what ends up happening is like that love actually multiplies and it actually comes back to us in far greater ways. So like love is always gonna be a positive investment no matter what. I mean, it doesn't take anything to compliment someone on their shoes or compliment someone on how great they look or how positive they are. And like, I know that's like, from my own experience, like, whenever I give a compliment to someone else, I also like end up reaping the benefits myself. Because how great does it feel like to put a smile on someone's face? There's honestly no better feeling in the world, I think. Especially when someone like is going through a hard time. The next Andy Grammer song I'm going to get into is Lisa's song, which is also known as Not the End. And like, I'm going to combine this with the song Don't Give Up on Me. So like, both of these songs are all about how no matter what you're going through right now, you may be going through the hardest circumstances, the hardest challenges, but like, you can't give up on yourself because, as Andy Grammer says in Lisa's song, or Not the End, it's just a chapter in your story. Turn that page and grab a pen, cause darling, everything's gonna be alright, and if it's not alright, then it's not the end. So like, you have to keep going no matter what. As long as you still have a breath in your body, you can't give up on yourself because you're going to inspire other people to not give up on their own health situations or their own journeys, as I'm trying to be an example of myself. I mean, I've dealt with like some of the most challenging health circumstances like anyone my age or anyone any age has ever had to go through. I mean, like, I was in a coma, I was on a ventilator, feeding tube, I almost lost my life. As many of you know, like, I also had like plenty more ensuing health challenges, but like, I know that like this is just like a chapter in my story, and like, I'm overcoming challenges every day that like years ago doctors would have said was impossible for someone like me. So like, don't give up on me. It's not the end. If it's not alright, then it's not the end. And the last Andy Grammer song I want to get into is Save My Life.
So this next song is called Save My Life. So I want you to think while I'm doing this of someone that has saved your life. The person that comes to mind when I think of this, I'm gonna cry. Where's Lee? There she is, right there. Uh-oh. Give it up for Lee. She's my godmother. So Lee showed up for me really big. She's my mom's best friend. When my mom passed away, she like showed up and she would stuff money in my shoes when I came through New York. And then she's been to both my baby's births and she walked me down the aisle and she's just been it for me.
The song's actually about a friend of his who after his mom's death really comforted him and essentially saved his life from a spiritual perspective. And like, I often look at my best friend James in this fashion as well, because he's someone like who always reminds me of my inner strength I have. And like, even when I'm at my lowest, even when I'm at my darkest of times, which, as many of you know, like, I'm always trying my best to be like an optimistic, super positive person, but like, even I have my days where I'm wondering, why am I still going through this challenge? When will this time pass? And like, James has always been there for me to remind me that like, I've overcome every battle in the past, and so like, I'm gonna get through this one too. And so, as Andy Grammer says, sometimes all that you need is someone who can believe in you more than you do. Because we all have those moments where we're going through it, we're going through the worst of it, we're going through the thick of it, and we don't remember how strong we are, and we can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. But like, sometimes all it takes is just like having someone there to remind us like to keep going, and to remind us like we can overcome this too, and that like this too shall pass. And next up, and finally in this video, I want to get into my 3 or 4 favorite Jelly Roll songs. So like, first off, we have I Am Not Okay. So like, the song is about how it's okay not to be okay, but like, I'm gonna get through this, because even though like you might be hanging on by a thread right now, you might currently be challenged more than you think that you could handle, and like, it's okay to cry, it's okay to not feel your best right now, but like, I'm gonna get through this no matter what. As Jelly Roll says, I know I'm not the only one who's barely getting by. I'm not okay, but like, it's all gonna be alright, and we're all gonna be alright. The next Jelly Roll song I'm gonna get into is Get By, which is about like how he's someone like who's done like all these sins. As he says, I light every bridge I see, yeah, just to watch it burn. If you'd seen the hell I've seen, it would make your stomach turn. I can tell some stories about some things you won't believe. It takes more than the album now to set the sinner free. And so like, it talks about like the challenges like that he faces on a daily basis. It talks about how no matter how far he gets, he cannot run his roots, but he just keeps trucking along, and he's gonna get by. As he says, I might drink a little, I might smoke a lot, counting down the good time, staring down the clock, throw some hallelujahs to the big man in the sky, show up Sunday morning looking just like last night, yeah, that's how I get by. It's essentially his way of saying like, he's not perfect, like he's trying his best to do better. And my 3rd or 4th final songs, I guess, I'm gonna try to combine these two, are Lonely Road with MGK also, as well as Best For Me with Joyner Lucas. So like, Best For Me with Joyner Lucas is about like helping someone out like with drug addiction, in spite of how hard it is, how it's a process, and like, it's of course very challenging. I mean, I can only imagine like, that's probably one of the hardest things to overcome. But like, Jelly Roll like is trying his best like to not lead people down that direction, because he obviously knows all about that life. And Lonely Road is also like another redemption song. It's like essentially about like reconnecting to God, being on like this lonely road, being on the wrong path, but then like trying your best like to pray for forgiveness, to pray for the strength to keep going and to overcome anything. and in spite of having the super challenging and super upsetting past, that's not going to define his future. So anyways, I hope you guys found this story super interesting. I hope you guys could check out some of the songs from the artists like who I mentioned. I hope that you guys found these songs and these stories as inspiring as I did. Anyways, let me know who your favorite artists are. Let me know if I missed any songs out of the ones like that I mentioned. Anyways, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Be sure to drop a like, leave a comment, let me know your thoughts. Make sure to buy the book, Fight Through It by Jared Weiss, my own comeback story. And I love you guys. I will catch you guys in the next video. Stay positive, stay hustling, stay grinding. You got this. Peace.